Thank you very
Voting in
much.
progress. Okay, it's official. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. So we're at 4:06 now on February 10th, 2024. In attendance, we have Chris Moore, President.
Ashley,
We've got Ashley, Treasurer. We've got Glitz, Vice President. VP. We've got Sunshine, Food Force Leader, and Spiritual Leader. All of the things. We've got Carrington, Chief Security Officer. We've got Mark, my beautiful lover. I'll even put that on there.
Magical Negro.
Magical Negro.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard it before.
We've got Janice, Interested Party.
This one felt like it spoke.
I would assume. So, and we've got
welcome,
Willie as well as over
Willie
here.
just joined. Did you turn off the
Group Badass.
Did you turn off the waiting room?
Yes, the waiting room should be off. That is off currently.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So,
All right.
anyone who
Great.
wants to join. All right, sweet. So, it's probably best, Ashley, if you could recap some of what we went over last time.
Can we read the mission statement first?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I knew I was forgetting something. That is VP's responsibility. Would you like to read it off my computer? Okay, sweet. Just open the Facebook page is how I do it. Statement. To the right. Got a couple moments of We got our scheduled moment of silence.
Yeah, here we go. All right. We of Communitopia are dedicated towards forging a harmonious coexistence between humanity and the natural world through the creation of ecologically conscious food forests, innovative community development, holistic education, and spiritual development. Our mission is to cultivate a thriving ecosystem that nourishes the body, mind, and spirit, fostering a new paradigm of conscious living.
Huzzah! Rock on. Awesome.
Okay. And going ahead, can everybody hear me okay, or should I put in the earbuds?
I think everybody can hear you pretty well.
All right, great. Okay, so basically, we had gone over I kind of spent probably about 10 to 15 minutes just recapping from the previous Saturday on Wednesday. And then Glitz came on and gave a presentation, which he will be giving again. So I don't feel the need to recap that. And we also discussed the religious corporation that Willie has available, and I can offer him a quick recap moment if you would like. But basically, we had discussed having the corporation as a separate entity rather than a sub-circle of Communitopia, and that it would be a collaborator, basically, so that we would have a step away from the religious orientation that we established together, separate from what Communitopia represents as a whole. And and then basically treating the corporation as a collaborator with all of the percentage points that we agree upon with tithing and whatnot, or contractual agreement would be established between the religious organization and Communitopia. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, we also discussed, we didn't really talk about logos too much more, I don't think. Although, I did reach out to Steven and I got an answer about the price point for a sticker pack. And he sent me the link to, can you pull up Communito or, Steven, please? It's okay, I got it. Let me
Are you
pull him
getting
up
feedback?
and then I can get Steven. Here we go. It says here that the last he checked, it was 900 stickers for $487. And that's a bulk price. And he
900
sent me,
stickers
it's
for
called
400.
487.
Yeah,
87.
487, and it's called stickerapp.com. He said, check it out, which I felt was, I was hoping for a little more due diligence from him. But it doesn't really seem like he's really interested in actually doing the steps. So I'm gonna stop, reaching out to him for help. I think at this point, he's made it pretty clear that he doesn't really want to be involved in this logo sticker opportunity for him to maybe help.
Yes.
So seeing as he just sent me a link and told me to check it out, I feel at this point, that was kind of what I don't know. I was asking a little bit more of him, but I'm understanding that that's not really going to be something I continue to pursue.
Fair.
So, and that's fine. I'm not angry or upset. I just, I recognize his lack of interest and I don't want to beg for interest. I want
Yeah, no need to
genuinely
force it.
interested individuals.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I love you. Have a good day at work, babe. And stopping, letting child out. Okay, bye.
Mhm.
Don't forget your drink. Okay.
Bye, Ellie. Have fun.
It's too far. They're gone. Okay. And now I can put in my earbuds because they wanted to listen. So they got to listen a little bit. So that was nice. So I'm sure you can hear me now. Yes, we're good.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, I can't remember if there was anything else. Christopher, do you remember if there was anything else that was covered during that time? I think that was it. Glitz kind of spent a bit of time really going over his presentation. And then, like I said, we talked a little bit about the religious organization with Willie. And Willie, if you'll take another maybe 2 minutes to recap anything that I forgot, that would be nice. And then we'll go ahead and hand over the scene to Glitz to go ahead and do his presentation again.
Fair.
Yeah. Essentially, we would like to, build trust and see if we create some audience that is going to embrace the doctrine and
Hold on, Billy. We
ideology.
can't hear you.
Yeah, it's a little hard to hear you. Can you speak a little more into the mic by chance?
Because I'm
He's on
driving.
speaker, I
Can you hear
think.
me better
Yeah,
now?
he's on speaker.
Let me try with I'm using the Bluetooth of the car. 1 second. Let me try switching.
Yeah, speaker might work better.
Yeah, let me switch.
Let me see if I can. Now try it, Billy.
I don't know how to switch this. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, very.
Okay, so essentially, we would like to ensure that we have an audience that embraces and accepts the doctrine and the ideology of the religious organization. The number one belief is we're all one. That's it. God is love. We're all one. All other truths are derivation of that truth. Once we have a number of people acquiring the concept and really living in a mindset of awareness, that those would be like the followers of the religious organization. In few months, then I would be submitting or filing the religious status of the organization with the IRS. So the IRS will analyze the request and will accept it and eventually label the organization as a non-profit religious organization. but essentially we need to start doing, I mean, we already started with Ashley's ceremonies, and also my YouTube channel, my other stuff that I'm doing regarding spirituality. Um, is we're not I mean we're not far from it, but we can use the organization to either marry people, access fundraising and charity funds from the government dedicated to religious organizations. We can um, uh, sponsor visas, and we will have a very like protected and enhanced freedom of speech, which means that nobody can question what if we're taught or the rituals that we do. So that there's a lot of protection in regards to religious organization. You guys have any questions or make
No,
sense?
thank you for that recap. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I also want to note that we spent a good probably 30 minutes just before this meeting discussing the aspects of religious organization, and it seems like this will be a good start to understanding how we can collaborate with another organization that's defined as being religious. We've kind of discussed, that we don't want Communitopia necessarily to be religious in principle, but that we want to collaborate with religious organizations. And so what Willie's doing is definitely in line with that sort of structure of like creating this other entity that, has its own sort of religious ideals and practices that, we can use this as some sort of practice for that. So, so the discussions are continuing about that even when you guys weren't here before this. So just so you know, we've been, getting on it. So
Can we schedule a time that we would discuss the parameters of coming up with what we need? Can you say again, Albert, what it is that we need to come up with together? Did you say it was the religion itself, or what is it exactly that we're coming up with?
It would be good to determine a structure of the roles and responsibilities. For example, the chief clerical priest, or just clerical different clerical positions depending on, like, for example, a prophet or priests and chief priests, and defining different roles, like mimicking what churches have today.
Yeah.
Talk about who, what kind of role you would feel called or resonates with you to perform, and then I would
Yes.
add you guys as part of the. I go to zombies and I add you as in the list of the board of directors.
Okay. I guess since this isn't going to be a sub-circle of Communitopia, I would say we would have a meeting outside of this format. So, perhaps, we can gather some interest and start a chat associated with people interested in this corporation so that we can schedule a time together that works best. So that we can start meeting about, establishing roles and whatnot.
I do have already a couple of group chats that we can use for that.
Okay, I think I saw them, and I hadn't accepted yet, but I just wanted to know that it was you first. I think I noticed it. It said spirituality, and what was the name of it?
Science and spirituality, and the other one is the language of the universe.
Okay. Okay, I'll accept those after this meeting is over.
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I was meeting every Wednesday with those groups for about 3 years. I was
Okay.
doing meditations, but we can continue those
Yeah.
meetings Wednesdays at 10 p.m. It was.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, let's create
I'll answer-
segmentation for it. We probably should move forward with our.
All right, Glitz, are you ready to
Yeah, love the
present?
idea. That seems like a good bet. Yeah, Glitz, would you like to talk about meeting structure
Yeah, I can.
and also roles, I suppose? Which, keep in mind, everybody, that we are in discussion of these roles for tomorrow's meeting. that we will be having a more extensive discussion and a voting process to solidify some more of these roles. It doesn't have to necessarily be all of them, but some that Glitz is going to mention.
Did you
will
Did you put
be-
together a presentation for that? You said you were gonna compile something, Christopher?
I did not do that,
Okay.
but I certainly can for tomorrow, and I think that's probably a good bet. I know Anna said she'd help me out, so I'll see if maybe I can get her to do a little
Just
bit.
before you start, but I also want us to get like a list together for tomorrow, a list of positions and needs and things to be done within the community. Maybe we can all write down something before the meeting tomorrow, like things that need to be done. We need to get the logo done. We need things that need to be done. We need to post this on the word page so that we can be, anybody can look at it, be like, okay, I can get this done. Let's do this.
So list of tasks.
There's a list of tasks, needs, and positions.
So yes, the positions is the main, like, that's what we had established that we wanted to vote on tomorrow, is like the actual positions and the
Positions
roles.
that elections are supposed to happen the first Saturday or second Saturday in March.
Second Saturday of
Okay.
March, correct,
And then,
so.
and like, I'm totally lost, so like, I did not know that. We need to post this stuff on the group page that is visible to
They're in the-
anybody that walks in.
Yeah, no, definitely, there's definitely been some like information buried in the videos that.
Yes, like, not just, let's not just rely on the videos, like, key components that we
Absolutely.
need to address. Let's please post them on the group page or somewhere.
They definitely were at some point, that when
Yeah.
that decision was made, December?
Yeah, it was
that the
right.
December meeting?
It was the December meeting, yeah,
Oh,
actually,
okay,
months ago. But at the same time, I think a good place for that, so I created the Communitopia Saturday Shenanigans event
Okay.
that is recurring. So each time we can update the information as we go, even remove the previous
And
information.
honestly, my feeling is that this needs to be on the website.
Yeah,
That
Yes.
having
And that's another thing
a
that we-
specific, like, these are the current action items that we're
Right.
moving forwards for the next meetings, could be like a banner at the top of the website.
that's
Agreed.
true. That is like the most
That's
important
like-
things
But
that we
then
need
that's
to
what we need
address.
to get on top of this website, because I don't even know that exists, I haven't even been on it.
Yeah.
I haven't even been on the website, I don't know how to get to it, and that's another thing that needs to be done, like,
A
So
website.
we talked about this last time.
but I think me and you discussed it a little bit.
Okay.
It's all tethered together.
Okay.
membership.
Alright,
Yeah, it's getting there, but yeah, there's some more refinements that we have to do, just social media aspects and the website,
Okay.
just passing of information. I mean, that's what we've been talking a lot about, actually, is just like, how do we ensure the information is being distributed properly? That's a really good way, just putting it on the website.
And the reason the website's not available is funding.
Of
We-
what? And
We
then-
haven't invested in the GoDaddy web builder that
Okay.
we have to pay for to use, because and I was told that it's fine, we don't need to worry about it, but for some reason it feels like we need a website.
okay,
So,
so that's
I
the
think
one,
we should really get that hosting figured out.
yeah, and that's why I was talking about, like, put a list of needs, like, we need this amount of money to get this website up, what do
Right.
we need to get these tasks done? We need to start, making a list of what we need to do, what we need.
And that's part of a proposal that I'm working on for like an unofficial launch. Like, we need work time, we need work hours when people that are gonna do these things are gonna come together and do them, you know? Cause it's one thing to say, this needs done, but until we assign that task to a person and set a deadline, it's not gonna happen.
Well, I kind of feel like the opposite, I kind of feel like if we post what we need to get this accomplished, then the people will be able to look at it, okay, look, I can fill that position, I can help get
Yeah,
this
it's kind
done.
of, it's kind of
From
both.
my experience as a manager, that's just not how workflow happens. If you give a task to a group and say this needs done, but you don't put a project leader in charge of it,
Right.
then the group is like, oh, somebody else will do that. Oh,
Yeah,
somebody else is
diffusion,
gonna do that.
diffusion of responsibility.
Somebody else will handle it. And everyone sits around thinking, oh, somebody else has got that.
But it's really both, because obviously it'll be very helpful to have the list of tasks and what need to be accomplished.
Yeah.
And so then people can know what's needed and they can come and say, this is something that I can do. However, at the same time, we have that whole list and we say, someone's gotta do this. let's assign the
If
person.
we assign a person, then the group, the circle has a person to go to and be
Right.
like, I wanna help with this.
I agree, assigning a person as a leader of a task. Yeah.
But just having a pool of tasks that need done with no. Right.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. Okay, sweet.
Could
By the
we-
way, I'm gonna mention that we have this this wonderful lady, Jen, who has joined. Thank you for joining on.
Welcome, Jen. And is that?
Welcome.
Oh yeah, we got Justin over here too. What up, Justin?
Howdy.
We got Jason as well in the background. What up?
Yeah.
I would like to say something along the lines of what Jess said. I know that we want to kind of move on to the presentation. I just think it's important to remember that what we're forming right now is the structure in which to be able to manage these types of things. So, you know, we all know that these things need to be done, and making a list will be helpful. Although we still don't have an acting secretary. So, you know, that's the issue, is that we haven't even voted on the roles and what they entail, much less the people for them. So as much as we want to be done with all of the tasks already and moving forward, having a little bit of patience for the development of even establishing the role in the first place would be, as much as I would love to have already done the tasks, you know, I have very limited time. And I think, you know, it's hard to have someone making all of these things available so that everyone can keep up, because we haven't even established the structure in which who is going to be putting those things up to keep up with. I know that was like a really roundabout way to say that. It's just, you know, yes, we do need someone, and we to do that would be nice. Although, you know, there are a lot of things that we're doing to even establish the bylaws in the first place, to even establish the role in the first place. So yes, all of these tasks, we will get to them. Yet, you know, for the now, it's really important that we take a deep breath and, you know, make a post about the fact that we want those things posted. And I know it is really scrambled. So I'm feeling a lot of pressure, because I was wanting to carry a secretarial role as well. And, you know, I have been placed in a position of treasurer at this time. And I'm trying to, I hear frustration for not having enough information being organized, and it's just a little painful for me. So I just felt I wanted to just pause and ask for a little patience as we develop the ability to even make a posted list of things. And, you know,
I feel defensive as well, just like knowing how much I want to have those tasks done, and feeling like it oh, sorry.
Well, like,
Feeling like it is like just a matter of having our ducks in a row. You know, we can create a logo right now, but we don't have a graphic design team. We don't have anyone.
and I was really hoping that
Graphic
Stephen would do
design
that,
team,
and he didn't, you know, and that makes me sad, because I paid him out of pocket to do it. And, you know, and that is embarrassing for me. Continue. I'm sorry, that just hit again, you know, just on a personal note. Just the logo being a topic of desire to be finished.
Yeah. So I definitely you know, I feel I feel the personal aspect of the conversation about why certain things haven't been done, and I definitely accept responsibility for and accountability for my part in why we're at where we are.
Yeah, does anybody have any, so the Messenger is fine, but like it doesn't have really any like abilities that like Microsoft Teams.
I actually did
Slack.
apply for Microsoft office, 365, that is for nonprofits. I gotta check back into that, but I'm hoping that we'll get all of those tools
Yeah.
soon. That might make things a lot more
In the
smooth.
interim, we set up at least a Slack channel, so that
Yeah.
way, we can build the wikis and we can build the to-do list, assign things more directly, so.
Is that better than
Well,
Asana?
well, I didn't like, the reason I brought that,
Just like, whatever base comfort is, I'm fine with Asana, I'm fine
Sure.
with Slack, I'm just looking for base functionality, so that, like, it's one thing when you're going through the different chats to reach pertinent people, but like.
Yeah, we can talk about this
Yeah.
outside the meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
This is
We
just
should
alluding
definitely
to
do that.
a lack of accountability issue.
Perfect.
and that's why I was bringing all that up, was because like, I want to help Ashley, but like, I don't know the list of things that she needs to accomplish. You know, what I mean, I wanted to say, okay, I can see Ashley's list, and I can help her by doing this, this, and this for her, and letting her know that I am able to do this for her, and I want us all to be able to do
I think
that.
that's a great idea, is like, you know, each role having an associated task pool.
Yeah.
And like,
Like, because I'm not as busy right now with the food forest part, because we don't really have things established yet, and I'm waiting for emails to come back to me and stuff, so in the meantime, if I see a list of what you need to be accomplished and her, then I can pick and choose of how I can help contribute.
Mhm.
You know, and I feel that we can all do this with each other, help each other out instead of having the full responsibility on our shoulders.
yeah,
Yes,
I like that. I really think that
hold on, what?
makes a lot of sense.
Like the bank accounts that get involved on a lot of stuff, just like get membership figured out, get event stuff figured out, website figured out, like. And then I'll get our bulk email system up and running, so we can do direct marketing a lot easier.
All of this factors into our conversation about workflow and just how things are gonna get done, how we're gonna work together and collaborate and make it available for new people, you know.
Right.
This, especially we need to talk about how we introduce new people to these concepts and
Right.
make sure that it's something everybody has access to.
Yeah, and not bring someone in where they're so overwhelmed by a million different things, but have something bite-sized that they can kind of get involved in, have different like layers of participation on.
Which
What
brings
can
up
we
a
do?
point, I wanna make a motion that we create a meeting designed for new people. That everything that we're doing in our the 2 times a week that we're meeting is geared towards the leadership circle, towards
Right.
the development of the mission and the implementation of the mission, but we don't have a filter or a funnel to catch new people. Basically.
Don't use funnel, no, I'm just
Like
kidding.
Jen is here on this meeting and she
Right.
doesn't know, she's never really interacted with us before and she's getting inundated with
Right,
layers of conversation. that
right, so
are
having.
Geared towards a new person.
So having a specific meeting structure that is meant to integrate a new person with where we're at and like what can be done and how they can involve themselves, like how to, you know, chat and all these things, like what all the chats do, like what is it, right,
Liz and I were talking about how like yesterday I went to the new moon ceremony and having an experiential event each week or every 2 weeks where people could actually experience what is Communitopia feeling. Instead of hearing all these ideas, directly experience it, and by experiencing it, you develop more buy-in and feel benefits of being part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I didn't have to explain to Communitopia to you, you
Right.
got it.
I got that
right,
experience.
exactly.
I think that's a lot more impactful than just talking about it.
No, I love that for sure. Well, let's,
So yeah, some sort of meeting where
I love
new
that.
people
I
get to
definitely think we
experience
should do that,
Communitopia
yeah, it's
too.
like more like the, yeah, just like an intro, what is it called, orientation, like an orientation. Yeah, essentially, like, let's get you oriented on where we're at, what we're doing,
Test
what
drive.
we're about, you know, and then you can decide from there, do I wanna continue putting my energy and time into this, and like, so thank you for sitting with us, Jen, and, even Justin, who's like, he's been involved in sometimes, but you know, like, but the truth is, it is like a lot that's happening and there's a
It's
lot
like
of
an
information.
episode, if you miss a couple episodes, you're like behind.
You're behind, and then you feel like, well, I might as well not be a part of this because I can't even figure out what the hell's going on anymore because I missed 3 meetings. It's like, well, okay, like we gotta be able to, like, even reorientation kind of circumstances where, you know, and that's what the recaps are sort
It
of
would be
supposed to
cool
do,
if the
but
recap was something we filmed between meetings, and instead of having to, you could watch the recap on your own time, instead of having to be here for the meeting to see this.
yeah, recap could even be something that we just like put on
Right.
Facebook.
It's a news,
Right.
yeah. It's
Like a
news-
quick 2-3 minute, like, this is what's happening, this is what we're doing. If you want more, want anything that's more deep, come to the meeting and
Right.
this is what we'll be discussing, this is what we've been discussing.
Right.
And then also having the orientation, that's like, this is what Communitopia is. These are the chats that we've been using. This is the Slack channel. This is
Maybe
how
like
you
a
could, this is my
newsletter.
phone number, you know, whatever it is, all the things. What did you say?
Newsletter.
A newsletter, yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, you know, and these are things that, you know, obviously like a secretary would be perfect for, because essentially they can be the one coordinating all that information in
It
a
would be
bite-sized way.
Conveying the necessary information to the teams that would,
Then
Write the-
present
write the
it.
copy.
Yeah, exactly. Right,
I,
right.
I would be interested in Firefox. Still,
Yes,
fun,
yes,
and it works.
absolutely. Your interest is noted and appreciated and could certainly be very helpful for sure.
alright, so we're behind schedule, I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
That's
if
okay.
everyone consents, I'm gonna jump into presentation.
Here is long today.
Okay, that's fine. 5 o'clock, still chill. Okay, sweet. So yeah, we got about 23 minutes left. So let's maybe if you could blast through it a little quicker than
Yeah,
last time,
I'll
but
hit
I
it
know
quick.
you will. No worries. It's very important stuff here that's also applicable.
I think it's gonna, okay.
What's up, baby?
I was just saying, I'm running behind a little bit due to dropping off Ellie behind and,
That's okay.
so, okay.
Alright,
Go
so
ahead.
here it goes. So, this slide is just talking about how everything in this presentation is subject to review and we have the final say. Nothing here is set in stone, so let's vote on it. If you see anything in the presentation, please interrupt me and say, hey, I don't consent to this. And here's why. This is an organic experience that we're still co-creating about meeting structure. Maybe you've got a big circle, you've got a little circle, but this presentation is not about circle building. This is just about how the circles design their meetings. So the way that happens is through agreements, spoken and unspoken. Circles gather at meetings with very few agreements in the beginning, and as time progresses, agreements build on top of each other, and then eventually you've got someone taking notes. If you don't get up to a place where there are notes being taken, then you never really actually get to the meeting. There's no meeting without notes. So the agreements that we have in this meeting are based around these roles that facilitate the meeting. The president starts the meeting, takes attendance, introduces topics, and is really the final say in making sure that time is distributed fairly. The secretary takes notes, makes sure that the meeting in the future are informed by notes, and if there's any questions about content, they're responsible for reviewing notes and making sure that there's a continuity of information. They also implement the votes during the meeting and make sure that there's ample time to object or withdraw consent, and then track the results of those votes in the notes so that the voting policies and the procedures that are voted on can be implemented by the necessary circles. The last position that we've agreed on is the vice president. The vice president's role is still somewhat open to expansion. The only real responsibility that we've agreed on is that the vice president reads the mission statement and the pledge at the beginning of the meeting, and then kind of holds the other members accountable for their roles, taking notes for the secretary. So.
Empowering,
Yeah,
empowering.
that's a good way to put it,
Right.
yeah. So this is sort of just like a little flow chart of how bylaws and the circle define the meeting. And then action comes out of the meeting, and it, why does it really matter is because each of us is responsible for this whole flow of co-creating that we're the ingredient that makes all of this happen. So we want to make sure that we're each aware of our role, and that general membership is a role that we don't have too many requirements for other than attendance, right? So
Certainly, yeah.
in order for the circle to function, we have to have a minimum of 3 people. This is actually just something that I intuited from having the 3 defined roles.
Right.
That if the president, the vice president, and the secretary are present, that they can hold a meeting, make decisions. But that's not to say that we don't have stipulations where if 3 people are there and one of them is president, vice president, one of these roles, that they couldn't act in the capacity
Right.
of these roles to conduct business.
Right.
That's something that we still would need to vote on and establish our tolerance for the risks involved around quorum. The quorum is the minimum people required. There are more possible roles that could be involved, and each of these roles could be defined on a contract or a personal basis, but they would need to meet certain category of participation to fall into these different roles. So it could be internal workforce, you could be an outside workforce, or contractor could be responsible for intra-circle relations, or what we would call a liaison. You could be an assistant, like to the vice president, secretary, could be a consultant, just sharing your perspective as a relevant expert, or you could be an advisor and have a more personal daily role providing that information. So none of those roles are required. The only people that have to be present for a meeting are the president, vice president, secretary. So it should say required roles
Right.
there at the top. And
Which doesn't have to be those exact people every time, but someone's got to fulfill that role as that capacity. You have to have someone
I
taking
think
notes.
I would think it has to be 1 out of 3.
I would say so too.
One of
At
those
least one
3
of the
people
three.
needs to be present.
Yeah.
And there needs to be at least 2 other people to
Right.
act in the capacities of the
Sure.
missing role.
Sure.
Obviously, that's not pictured here in the slide, but that's
Right.
what I would support as like a logical.
Would chief security officer and treasurer be potential
Yeah.
officials?
I was thinking that as well.
So these are like executive roles, but as of yet, we don't have any agreements about what those roles would be responsible for in a meeting.
Right.
This presentation is based on the agreements that we have currently and the way that we currently run our meetings. But this isn't to say we couldn't add a role for those people.
We could say like if secretary is not available, treasurer acts as secretary.
Yeah,
Something
that's,
like
that's
that.
what I like. It's so that way we have more people. Like say for instance, I'm available, you're available, and
Yeah.
Ashley's available. It could be an official
Yeah,
meeting.
That's one of those unspoken agreements I think that we have so far, is that like
Right.
you are providing security for the meeting.
Right. Yeah. We just need to
Mhm.
make sure the meeting is secure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, thank you for highlighting. So yeah, just to reiterate the responsibilities, the president introduces the meeting, including making sure that the meeting is recorded, and then takes attendance, calls on the vice president, calls on the secretary for their roles. May delegate your duties as president, and you can, you're the kind of where the buck stops as far as ensuring that the other roles are performing their responsibilities and making sure that everybody who speaks gets a fair amount of time and we stay on task.
Mhm.
The secretary takes notes. You know, again, if there's no notes, there's no meeting, legally speaking, or figuratively in the sense for people that are not there. You know, a recap is great, but you know, if there's no notes, we can't go back and say for sure we didn't miss.
Right.
So it's just really critical to have notes, and the secretary will use those notes to respond to questions about previous business, to make sure that we're staying consistent and the information is being conveyed. They supervise the voting and record the voting proposals word for word, so that there's no question about how you know, a vote is implemented. And then the vice president reads the mission statement, holds the other positions accountable, and noting for time accuracy. Any questions about these roles?
Sounds good.
So the last aspect of you know, the meeting is the structure, right? So you've got the responsibilities, and then you've got your structure. So this is our suggested time to keep our meetings to under an hour. We haven't voted on anything that we have to keep meetings to under an hour. In fact, they're frequently longer. I think an hour and 15 might be a more suggestible length for a meeting. An hour just seems a little too short.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, especially in the introduction and the closing minutes. I don't think 8 minutes. Yeah, I don't think 8 minutes and 2 minutes is long enough. And obviously, we don't need the planning minutes on Wednesdays. So one thing I forgot to add is that the meeting structure is different between Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Right.
That our Wednesday morning meetings don't have the planning minutes at the end. So this presentation is already outdated. But just to go through the meeting structure again, at the beginning, the president takes attendance. The secretary does the recap. The vice president reads the mission statement and the pledge, and then the president introduces the speakers. Currently, we've voted to have roughly 3 speakers for 10 minutes each. I don't know if this is practical. It seems like maybe we should potentially cut it down to 2 speakers.
2 speakers, yeah.
For 15 minutes. That's a personal opinion, not reflective of any agreements that we have. And the open floor is first come, first serve. Currently, now we could implement some sort of voting to determine who gets to speak and allow people to submit their requests for floor time and then vote on the top priority. But as it is, that's just another personal opinion about something that might be more democratic, more in line with our mission. So the last bit of the meeting is read proposals, any necessary votes, and
That table's been taken.
The closing minutes, we do any final votes, any necessary extensions and announcements at the very end. Now, the announcements is not something we've agreed on. This is just kind of something that occurred to me that makes sense to do announcements at the end as opposed to at the beginning. But obviously, we could do announcements at the beginning, and that might make more sense. I'm not sold on importance.
So, and then during the planning stage, that's when we will be spending some time discussing what we want to be talked about in the following meetings, right? So
That's right.
it's- yeah,
Yeah, planning could be following meeting, following events.
events,
It could be really
Right. Just
broad
what's-
in
yeah.
its application of what.
So what's
planning
on the docket of
is.
what we need to plan for next, yeah,
Mhm,
yep, yep.
mhm. And obviously, those votes can be happening throughout the meeting. There's nothing, I could definitely add some slides to this presentation about how voting happens during the meeting. That's probably the next meeting structure presentation that we need to do, is how voting is suggested, because obviously circles can implement their own voting procedures, but as far as like how we're gonna suggest that voting should happen.
Right.
It's probably the next presentation that I
go into that.
So yeah. Cool, yeah, so stay tuned for how to call a vote, what voting includes.
Is anybody else hearing an echo?
Yeah.
What's an echo?
Echo. We're fixing
I
it.
just need someone to turn off their microphone.
I guess it's me.
I'll just turn my speaker up.
Yeah, cool.
No problem solved. Cool. Anyways, we're done.
Sick.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you, Glitz.
Yes, thank you.
The
Absolutely.
presentation, let's.
Mhm.
What,
Want to try and do it.
that's totally fair.
Yeah.
We can table that. What is the presentation? It's the financial funding. The financial funding presentation next week.
Can we do it tomorrow?
Well, so,
Do we not want to try and put that into what we're trying to?
I don't
really know what we're doing.
yes,
So again, what we're focusing on is establishing what the roles will be.
Okay.
Right.
So gotcha, where roles of our board members and what their tasks, what they will be required to do, because if they don't. the
right,
committee
held
can
accountable.
To ask them to step down because they're not fulfilling the roles that we have decided and voted on expecting.
Okay, makes sense.
And that's what we need to do first, before really anything else, is define those roles and define our bylaws.
Right.
So we took our bylaws down into chunks, and we have started to give presentations on pieces of those bylaws. One of them is meeting structure. One of them is our membership and
Voting
Okay,
and roles,
And
board
partnerships.
partnerships, right? So it's essentially that'll be the document to which we refer, that's legally binding. That,
It's actually-
things.
it's actually not legally
Those things,
binding.
Like,
not legally.
No, yeah, bylaw, a judicial body can't hold a group responsible to
if
enforce
you
their own
would like to
bylaws.
put
Okay.
together a
Interestingly enough.
presentation on
Interesting.
some more roles we're doing at our
So
board
it's
meeting.
internally binding, but not
Yeah.
external.
Membership
Okay,
Harrington
that
is
makes sense.
doing. I'm doing the financial funding presentation. And Blitz just did the meeting structure. So then what we have left is presentation on organizations.
Account number, routing number?
The
Those two things, yeah.
collaborative, which
I got
kind
you.
of What those 2 o'clock meetings out. It's not
Well, we'll be
much,
rolling.
Not
So-
exactly. I don't think that's exactly what organizations meant. Did organizations mean collaborators?
Probably.
Okay. And then we have individuals, obligations, and rights. If you want to pick one of those topics and put together a presentation, you're more than happy to, but that's what we're working on right now.
And I'd love to collaborate with you on a presentation if you feel like the
Yeah.
the technology is not your strong suit. I'd be interested.
So that's where we're at. And so basically, that's why we don't have a list for you to do, because this is really.
okay,
We're trying to focus on establishing our bylaws so that we can have a legit bank account, which they went ahead and got anyways, but I
They do
think we
have.
were supposed to have bylaws to.
Not
give a bank account
necessarily to
initially.
just-
That was why we had started.
And I can really see, once the bylaws are established, that's really the framework for the meeting for new people.
Right,
We take them through our bylaws and just like,
right,
here's what we stand for.
right. This
That's
is what we're
basically
doing.
The membership also, we talked about, we had a couple of discussions about membership already. Where we talked about how we would, bring in participants and we would, offer them integration into circles. And then once they're in the circles, they will be assigned roles and have supervisors
Mentors.
mentors that basically monitor their ability to perform the role and
Right.
see if the placement is appropriate. And if it is not, then replacement.
Right.
So that we have productive members.
Or role creation is also, I think,
Right.
as opposed to necessarily being like, all right, you've got to fit in this box over here. Like, okay, you have unique skills, you have a unique perspective and an offering here. Let's create a role for you.
Right. But it's hard to do all of that when we haven't even established roles for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So.
So, and just, you know, and the reminder that tomorrow, tomorrow is our monthly meeting that is the more important one to ensure that we're establishing legitimacy within the organization to have the minutes very documented properly. We only really have to do that once a year, but we're doing it once a month to ensure that we have a smooth flow of all that.
Once we complete like the startup phase, really, we won't have to meet that often to do these. Yeah.
Right.
Well, these meetings will become the circle.
Right,
That's these
exactly.
time frames.
And then are we meeting somewhere tomorrow or is this all on Zoom?
Carrington, can we meet here?
Yeah.
All right, then tomorrow here, if that's fine with
Tomorrow at
everybody.
11 here.
11 o'clock? For
I
anyone
just
who
want
can
to go
make
to
it?
church first and then run out.
It's okay if you can't.
Oh,
If you can't.
yeah,
If you can't be here,
I have to go to the early
9:30,
9:30 church, then
what time is that over?
Radiant,
9:30 to 11,
9:30.
or
Let's say,
10:45.
let's say noon? Noon to two? Noon to two?
Yeah, let's do noon to 2.
Sound good for everyone?
Let's just do it a
Yeah.
bit.
That's fine. We gotta be flexible with this, and that's why we kind of now, to recap too, we're moving the 11th meeting to now just being on the second Saturdays of each month, so that we can ensure that it's not like, so we're already trying to segment out Saturdays as being our meeting times. So we might as well just keep it as that and say the second Saturday of every month is where we're going to have these bigger kind of things, which is where we really want to actually pass motions.
Just about like 11 to 5.
So we'll have votes tomorrow. We want to have votes about the roles themselves and suggestions on what, if something should be added to a role. We can present it on the floor and say, we can probably go through each role and say, you know, have we exhausted everything that we feel that that person should solidify? We should set up the board, but we should also consider the setting up of management roles as well, like officers. So, you know, we talk about what chief security officer is supposed to be doing. In the same sense, you know, Carrington, knowing the most about that role in the first place, will likely be presenting, this is what I feel a chief security officer should be, you know, doing. And so then we can vote, are these all the things that we want them to do? By the end of tomorrow, hopefully we have in stone and in writing that those lists of roles.
Or at least papyrus.
At least papyrus, but you know, having it set in stone so we can move forward from that and start determining our governance model, which that's why we're talking about sociocracy and continuing to learn a little bit more about that. You know, at the same time, we were also talking earlier that we've essentially been functioning as sociocracy anyway, sociocratically. But I want us all to kind of get our heads wrapped around a little bit more about what that is on the larger scale and how that all kind of works with each other.
But I do think we have the functioning like ability to vote on consent tomorrow.
Correct.
Even if we are not like saying we consent to sociocracy, we can say I consent to unanimous
Right.
decision making.
Which, once again, consent-based, to understand this, so just reminding everybody, we are encouraging objections. The idea is we want people to find something to object to that says, this is not in line with what we're trying to accomplish, and creating that open floor for that, and then recycling it through it and giving that feedback loop. Because if somebody has an objection, the likelihood is we need to think about it so that we can, you know, ensure, like if somebody's like, you know, well, this role and this role are both, you know, kind of combined and it really should be all more over in this role, then maybe we can reassess that and we all vote and say, you know what, actually, that's probably better, right?
If we can imagine unforeseen consequences, then the likelihood of unforeseen consequences is even greater.
Right, exactly. So we want to really pick at it and create a platform for us all to say, I object, without that being a problem. It's okay, in fact, better to object, because now we get to talk about it more and refine things better. So now we can proceed forward on a consent basis, which consent also has a range of tolerance, which you can say, I consent to this, but it's not exactly perfect how I would want it because of A, B, and C, but I consent to working on it in this way. And so the ways to get around some of these objections is sometimes even saying, or even if somebody's outside of their range, or even within that range of tolerance, we could say, well, and with that being said, perhaps we just try this for a month, or perhaps we try it with just one person, or perhaps A, B, and C. We come up with these different ways to reassess the thing so that it's at least giving it a little bit of a try,
And
or
there's
maybe we don't at all.
There's also a concept in programming called split testing,
Mm.
where you implement both solutions
Right.
and see which one works better.
Right. And then it's always putting it back to the feedback loop to reassess later. So you say, okay, we need to revisit this a month from now. And this person did this person did this. Which one gained more funding? Which one was more in line with what we're trying to accomplish? Which one did the best overall, as the group understands it, to accomplish our goals? And remember, an objection is not, I don't like it. It is, I feel that this is going to be in conflict with us accomplishing the goal. And the goal currently is establishing Communitopia as a functional and legitimate nonprofit that can take us into the next stages of creating all these other circles that can accomplish these projects.
I think you have to, you have to include, you have to have a concern and a problematic outcome
Right.
that.
Yeah, if we did this, it's going to cause
conflict with
this
value,
issue.
or value conflict.
Right, exactly. So, so it kind of helps us dive into ourselves too, because it's like, well, I don't really like this, but why don't I like it? Like, am I within my range of tolerance? Can I accept this for the time being and just say, well, I accept it, I don't object, but it's not exactly how I'd want it, and we can reassess this thing. But, or you just say, I flat out object, and it's because it's going to cause a problem with this, A, B, and C. And you list that out, and then we say, okay, well, how can we refine this decision? How can we change the vote essentially to what, we take a different vote with new stipulations according to what we want.
It's tough to I mean, with it all being hypothetical,
Right.
I definitely encourage us to have these conversations
I feel like we did.
in more
Oh.
concrete terms
Mm.
when we can.
Yeah,
Because it's very hypothetical right now, and I'm having trouble imagining the situation.
Well,
but
Yeah.
didn't Mark bring up a great point earlier? Would that
That's
be
what
an
I was-
example?
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
About the security of the members? and making
Absolutely.
sure they feel safe?
Right.
absolutely. So that's
That
why we were
was
saying we're
something that we
already
were
actually
really-
functioning very sociocratically anyway. But now we want to establish it in our bylaws as our governance
Yeah.
model so that anyone who's coming in knows this is how we make decisions. This is our voting process. We can say specifically each person has a vote and this is what the vote means. And this is the circle that, these are the people that are making votes associated with these things. So those are the things that are going to, and also that'll establish us as a legitimate nonprofit in the eyes of the government. These are the things that we need these things
That's
legally, but also we need them to make decisions. It's important that we have a way of making decisions that everyone is heard.
Coming in from the outside perspective, I shy away from groups. I've told Liz, I have this very strong feeling of feeling alien. And you guys have been so present for me, listening to my ideas. I'm just you don't know me.
Yeah,
But
well,
the fact that you're willing to listen
right.
is it speaks volumes of what you want to do.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and
Great
that's what we need to keep doing that as much as possible with anyone, and that we can hear the things and put it through the feedback loop. It'll change the way that we think too. Anybody who's popping in with anything, it'll bring up ideas that were I never freaking thought of that before.
That's
So
what makes
now
it
we
a-
have to
a
reassess
utopic
this thing.
Community.
Yeah,
The fact
right,
that we are using
exactly.
Everyone. together.
Exactly. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and I definitely I want us all to hold each other accountable for that aspect, so that we can all be sure that we're being heard, that we're listening to each other, that we're also speaking our minds, but that we're trying not to speak over each other and get too caught up in the whole conversation. But things like Ashley's doing and raising her hand is a really great part of the process. Yeah. What up, baby?
Like to bring something up close.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to not come to a conclusion now, but perhaps start discussing how we might handle someone in the community, who is, causing damage. So I recently had, a loft bed of mine out on loan for the community. And I just recently found out that it was dismantled, sawed into pieces and thrown away.
Oh, God.
So I was
Yeah.
looking forward to using it, and it is now gone. And I'm bothered.
Fair.
I'm not bothered by the financial, I'm bothered by the blatant malicious
Yeah.
intent that I feel. It was not that they didn't have somewhere to put it. It was that it was mine.
Yeah. They were causing damage.
And they were intentionally, it seems, doing that to hurt me. And it hurt. So I just want to openly say I am hurt. And I was already on guard. I now have even more feelings of recoil, because I want to support the community and I want to be inclusive, and I do not know how to engage with this type of thing.
Right.
So,
Is someone talking? Because I can't hear it.
Oh, sorry. Essentially, individuals should not be loaning out their own stuff as part of, like, organizational stuff is, you know, having defined terms and access points and everything of the sort. But one of the main things with radical inclusivity, there's also going to be radical security to make sure that you don't trample someone else through the inclusion.
Right.
Like,
So in this type of circumstance, we've noted a particular situation in which damage was caused. And so it should be addressed with that person. I do know the person, and I feel as though there is conversation to be had from one person or another. It's not your responsibility to have that conversation personally, but
I don't think.
that's what I mean. So you don't need to. And in fact,
I'm with me, because I'm the person that was tasked with dismantling the bed
Yeah.
and moving it out of the house. So I could give you information about how that is. My involvement.
and
At
The
the very
sawing it
least.
to pieces and throwing it away part, or the taking it apart and not using it in the space.
Yeah, but it was my responsibility to,
And I was not contacted to retrieve my belonging that I had out on loan for people to use.
yeah, I was not told about
Yeah, we were. I was, kind of there.
the emotional involvement.
Just schedule a separate conflict
Yeah,
resolution.
yeah.
yeah, I agree, but it's definitely something that's serious that we have to address as far as, especially as we go forward with, you know, the people are like, you know, just going to be malicious in the sense that if they feel left out or they are upset by A, B, and C, that they do what they can
It
to
may not
cause
be that.
damage.
This is Ashley's
might not be.
decision that
Right.
She feels,
Right.
and again, we can just pin.
Right,
at
which
this
is
point.
fair, and then more conversation should occur
Yes.
about the particular circumstance to get more clarity on what's going on. And to hopefully, if a malicious decision was made, to address that malicious decision and not be tolerant of the decision, but, you know, essentially saying, you know, well, this is where we feel that was wrong. And just standing on that, they don't necessarily have to do anything about it, but we have our voice at the very least of saying, that was unacceptable, and there's a breach of trust associated with that circumstance. If these things were being done maliciously, then it's clear that this isn't someone that we want to continue engaging with at this point until that understanding is made. So, and that's just general. So that's a specific situation that needs to be discussed more. but in general, any malicious behavior should be addressed with that person and create the conflict resolution pathways that's like, this person needs to be heard about why this has caused damage and that, this has damaged trust in regards,
Yeah.
You know,
And I mean, I feel manipulated. Like I wasn't, but it's, obviously.
We can revisit it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
It was open floor time and I am in pain over it and, I felt it very important that I bring that up.
that's fair.
Yes,
I
thank
appreciate you
for
bringing
doing
it up and yeah.
that.
let's definitely-
Communitopia policies on like mutual aid, like
Yeah.
the sharing of resources versus like loaning. Gifting versus loaning people property and having those energy exchange agreements.
Yeah,
In the
That
future.
was my child's bed, so I get to tell my kid
Yeah,
that it's
well-
all and that we don't get that.
Well, in the future, we'll probably have contracts drafted up for any
Yeah,
of these
streamlining.
changes, so that way,
Yeah,
as part of the resolution, there were parts of the contract you were supposed to maintain in the usage, and sorry, it didn't happen this time.
sorry,
Yeah,
I've not been exercising with boundaries and this is common for me to be hurt over how the lack of, established.
Part of community is, taking on liability and
mhm,
like hospitality comes at a cost a lot of times. Being a friend comes at a cost a lot of times, so we'll do our best to have harm reduction principles.
right.
And
There's something to,
protect all the
yeah.
parties.
and it should be noted that to damage a person, if we're functioning as a community, it is damaging the community as well. So we.
100%.
That's what it's about. It's like, so I can take on some of that pain as well myself with just understanding some of the details behind that situation. It's not my bed, but it could have been of good use for the community, and now it's of no use because
Right.
someone decided to delete it. And that damages the community, and they can kind of take on some responsibility for that if they're willing to. If they're not, then the likelihood is that community engagement with this person or people is not currently functional. And that's just how it is until the point where they can understand, I see how I've hurt the community in this way, and I want to try to make amends for that, even if that is just accepting the responsibility of how you've caused damage.
It
If it-
really brings up the question, when do we say, where is our boundary?
Right,
How do we establish boundaries about people who are operating outside of our social contract? And our ability to include them based on their choice to violate our principles.
right, yeah,
And how radically inclusive can we really be
right.
when that's the case?
And still have love for the person and say that was an extremely, unacceptable move to have made that decision. And that is not in line with our principles. And we can just say that straight up. It's like, I love you, but like that was what we all consider as something that was wrong. Would you like to talk about it? Essentially like that. So,
Many cases, there could be a like.
yeah,
And then-
Showing
How-
particular spites, like spite is.
Now, when someone's
tricky.
still healing,
yeah,
and like just say they do this, and they're still in the process of healing and understanding fully what they actually did, how do we go about, do we just kick them out? What do we do?
I
That'll be
think-
part of the mediation.
Yeah.
Mediation.
Yeah.
I was imagining this like circle of, like this circle devoted to people who are not necessarily in good graces with community at large. Not that they have like personal conflicts with other members, but like there's something they did that violates our values.
Right.
ideally the person who's interacting with them has no personal or at least is not bringing their personal circumstances into it. It should be a much more like objective third party sort of perspective. It's like it's hard to separate all personal connection, but that's kind of what I kind of see like the review circle is sort of an aspect of that where it's kind of their obligation to look at things as a whole and to try to separate. Well, I just don't like that person. So, well, you can't just keep blocking their votes because you don't like the person. Like, that's not enough. It's like, you have to step back from that and say, this is causing issues within this circle or within this group of people, and we need to address those issues directly. You know, and ideally be able to come at it with love and compassion, but also understanding that we don't need to agree with behaviors.
It's about policies, not personality.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I think it's also about maybe protecting safety members.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I mean, yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Like that's I mean what it ultimately comes down to, and that's where it's like, you know, because this situation occurred, it's like there is a damaging to the whole circumstance. What if someone needed a bed? You know what I mean? Like that's someone does need a bed. So that's the whole point. So it has it's yeah. So and that's where community can come in and kind of fill the gaps. But we can't just keep letting that happen. And then now we're completely got nothing because we keep just giving it all away.
It only is, like, long-term damage to the community if we don't take the feedback and adjust.
Adjust, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because we as a society are still killing a lot.
Hello. What,
So
Ben?
this is going to occur, so.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was gonna say, more that we, I mean, if you look at the first.
Yeah, let's wrap up time.
Let's wrap up.
Okay.
I wanted to take a minute and read, this pledge that I started writing. Is that okay?
It's ask him because it's Darrington said.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like a minute. Okay.
Let's do it tomorrow before the meeting, because I think that's a perfect way to start. We'll do that along with the mission statement, and that's a really good. That'll be solid, for sure. So thank you guys. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you for joining us, Jen. Thank you
Oh,
for
we
joining us.
didn't do planning minutes. We didn't vote on
Well,
upcoming.
So, and that's the thing, so because we have the meeting tomorrow, I think, you know, let's,
I thought that we were still doing
Yeah.
our bylaws preparation, and Harrington is doing membership and I will be doing financial funding. And I think 2 is enough considering how long it takes to
Okay.
present.
Okay, we've already got our.
yeah, so let's do those for Wednesday and Saturday. Tomorrow will all be all about the bylaws and the roles, specifically the roles that we're trying to play.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Thanks for letting me listen.
That'd be
Hey,
good,
Jen.
that'd be
Good
good.
morning.
And just, given like.
Hey,
a-
hey, Jessica.
Kind of,
Thanks for being here,
this
Jen.
idea of like what it
Yeah,
is that
sit
you're
down.
trying
Just
to
sit down.
accomplish, yeah, exactly.
I can't hear you, Jen.
In fact. Hi, Jen. I know it's
Hi.
all.
Thanks for letting me listen in.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
thank
being
you
here.
guys for being here. We'll be having a major meeting tomorrow, also being hosted on Zoom if anyone's interested in learning about the board positions and the roles that we're defining for management and for our board. From noon till 2 tomorrow, we'll be hosting on Zoom, and we'll also be here in Gulfport. It's open to the public, in fact, encouraged, because we need people kind of checking us as well, and just, you know, so it's great for everyone to be here, and, you know, I definitely interested in talking to you more, Jen, and just getting your ideas on what you felt about this whole thing as well. So, you know, and it sounds like you know Blitz as well, so obviously that's also a great conversation to have. So, yeah, the more reflections we got, the better. So I appreciate you serving that role for us and holding space for everything, so.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Justin, for being here. I'm hoping maybe we can get together pretty soon.
Yeah, exactly.
You able to meet up today?
Yep, sure.
All right, sweet. Well, I'll be heading home pretty soon, but let me keep in touch with you, and perhaps you can come over within the hour or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, meeting adjourned. Love you, buddy.
Love you guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Christopher, can you come help me bring
Adjourn.